And we start with Jack McCain. Welcome to Sunday Square Off.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
This is a fascinating moment for me. Your father sat in that chair many times. I am so pleased to have you on the show.
I'm lucky to be here.
So help folks out there who you're not in the public eye, you're not a political figure. Fill us in on what you've been doing for these last few years.
Well, I was in the Navy for quite a long time. I served all over the world between Guam, Afghanistan, and teaching back at the Naval Academy. I returned to Arizona in January 2020, been working here ever since.
And so now you've taken up the cause of these Afghan refugees, many of whom they worked alongside you in Afghanistan. Why is this fight so personal for you?
Well, I spent a year of my life living, working, and fighting alongside Afghan pilots in Kandahar and Helmand. I was assigned to a program called the AFPAC Hands program, which was meant to build some expertise in the U.S. military on Afghanistan. I learned the language, culture, history, and taught them to fly Black Hawk helicopters throughout the country. So I still credit myself with being vertical due to a couple of the pilots out there. So it is about as deeply personal an issue as it can be.
And you seem to be saying they saved your life.
I'd say that they protected me at a time when they didn't have to, when they could have made a splash. If something had happened to me while I was in Afghanistan, it was a bit of a secret that I was there. And so they kept me safe.
You mean as a McCain? It was being kept a secret.
I had appeared on national television during the funeral of my father, and they had figured out who I was.
And so now Congress has a bill before it, the Afghan Adjustment Act. What would it do?
So the Afghan Adjustment Act fixes some of the failures that were created as a result of the expedient nature of the evacuation. It creates a vetting program, affords resources to Afghan refugees who need it, and codifies their legal status here in the United States. Most importantly, it gives them a path to citizenship and a way to stay.
And talk about that evacuation. What was your role in helping these fighters, interpreters, and others get out amid that chaos?
So I always say I was a very small part in a massive effort. My job was simply to organize and get groups of Afghans we put into what we call chalks of about 10 pilots and their families and move them from where they were in safe areas in Kabul to and through the gate at Hamid Karzai International Airport. So I spoke the language, I knew who the people were, and just tried to get them out.
And get them ultimately to Arizona, because we have many Afghan refugees here.
We do. It's hard to say, but given the chaos, I knew that we had the best opportunity for resources here in Arizona, and Governor Ducey was one of the first governors to say that he was willing and happy to take Afghan refugees.
So what's standing in the way of this bill getting passed?
A little bit of partisanship. I think when you reflect on the issue, Democrats on one side don't necessarily want to crow what happened because it was a sticky evacuation. And on the Republican side, I think there's a little bit of reticence for a myriad of reasons. I don't really mind what the partisan issues are. What I care about is getting it done.
Now, you wrote an op-ed in the Chicago Tribune this past week, and you called out specific Republican senators by name. And I read that. I wonder if he got any tips from his dad on how to deal with recalcitrant Republicans.
It's always a pleasure to try to follow a bit of his legacy, but there are key individuals who can help pass the act, and that's what's most important.
And so time is running out. What happens if this bill doesn't pass? Would these Afghan refugees perhaps face deportation?
That is the issue. They are coming up on a year inside the United States. Their legal statuses have not been codified. And while I don't think it's a reality that they're going to get deported, many of them are facing the fear that they might. What they have now is uncertainty, and we need to make sure that they don't have to live with that uncertainty, that they can start safe, stable, and sustainable lives in the United States.
It is crunch time at the Capitol right now as the year ends, a new Congress about to take its seats. So it may be likely this doesn't pass. Are there other things that can be done at the state level, the local level, perhaps, to help Afghan refugees here? Even things viewers might help with?
Absolutely. If you know of Afghan refugees in your community, please reach out to them, offer whatever help you can. At the state level, we have a refugee coordinator who's been doing good work, but we always need more resources, and especially job placement. Helping these refugees and humanitarian parolees find employment so that they can continue living their lives, send their children to school, and become great Americans, which I know they will be.
All right. You don't make many public appearances like this. You're not a public figure, a politician, but I do have to ask, the McCain name during the midterms, really ever since Donald Trump got involved in our politics back in 2015, has been bashed by Republicans. When you hear that coming from a Kerry Lake, from a Kelly Ward, chair of the party, others, what do you say to yourself?
I had a good example to follow. And whether you suffer an attack from any side, I'm a very strictly nonpartisan person. It's always motivation to just be better. When you try to put yourself beyond reproach, there's really nothing anyone can say that's going to stick.
Do you have any plans to get into politics in the near or distant future?
I get asked that question a fair amount.
I'm sure.
Right now, I'm focused on raising my son. I'm focused on reintegrating here in Arizona and trying to serve a cause greater than my own self-interest. So there's plenty of time in the future, but right now I'm happy and very gainfully employed.
Jack McCain, thank you so much for joining us. Hope to have you on again soon.
Anytime.
When we come